take it away.
All right, thanks. Okay, so we have, I think we are going to run into the issue of having like too many Redis connections. So right now, I've linked two issues. One is related to, okay, let me. So yeah, one is related to too many Redis wrapper classes. So if you look at just 16.6 table, we have 13 classes. Okay, granted, this is going to go away because it's a temporary class for migrate, just to aid in migration. Because we have this multi-store approach, which I'll talk about later. So everyone here has its own connection pool, and I'll say every thread, like they don't max out the connection pools typically, but if every single class will spin up at least one connection. So in some circumstance it could increase the number of it could make the number of connections like let's say when a customer upgrades several versions, and in that span of few versions, let's say we added 3 wrapper classes. Let's say from 10 to 3, that's like a 30% increase in connections, possibly a 30%. It's a 30% increase in connection pools, but in terms of increasing the number of connections, it will depend on how actively those pools get utilized. So one idea I have is to
Hold on, I think to add some color here, each of these classes represents a different Redis instance for us, but not for self-managed. And this is the problem that Sylvester is hinting at.
Yeah, so every wrapper class is one instance on .com, but not so for SM users. So we have like, okay, let's go back to that list. Yeah, so feature flag, if feature flag is not defined, it falls back to cache. So technically, cache is like a sort of a parent class where feature flag, rate limiting, repository cache, and chat all fall back to. So for us, we have like 6, but for self-managed users, they would only have 1 Redis instance. But they have 5 connections pool connecting to that same Redis instance, which is wasteful, and this is not sustainable if we keep adding. So it might be better to have a way to clean it up. So I've got an MR to check if the fallback, and obviously check the fallback if it's the same. If it's, what is it? Yeah, if the connection pool is identical, you just use the fallback config fallbacks pool, then you share the pool, and yeah, you don't waste extra connection pools. But the one problem I'm thinking about is that if you do this, then let's say five wrapper classes, let's just say 5 wrapper classes that all connect to cache. Suddenly you divide the number of possible connections by 5. So I'm not sure if there are any problems.
I don't think that's a problem, because like it's a 1 connection per thread anyway.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, then should be fine. Yeah, all right. Then the next thing is multi-store. So this is a little longer issue, but I can pull out what a multi-store is like. So let's just put that state. So shared state right now wraps over 2 Redis connections, one to Redis persistent and one to the Redis cluster. So we migrate between Redis this way by doing double write, and then we cut over the reads. So because of that, during a migration, cluster shared state itself has a connection pool, and Redis shared state has also a connection pool, which with a connection that points to the Redis cluster. So that's times 2. So during the migration, you could have double or even triple. It was triple during the first attempt, but the first attempt there was an incident that was unrelated to connection pool. We rolled back, and then I clean up psychic status. So we, instead of times 3, it's just times 2. So yeah. So we are seeing on Redis shared state, the cluster client component is high. It is not normally this high. It's double because we are doing the migration. So once the migration once the pools get cleaned up, I think there's an MR for it. So once that gets cleaned up, it will go back to half of whatever we're experiencing right now. of course, half is it's just an estimation because sometimes like let's see, in these spikes because at let's say every hourly mark there is there's there's a spike in workload. So because of that, like new connections get split up. And I think every time you deploy, whenever you do a deploy, there will be a new instance. A new instance, whenever we initialize, there will be a connection pool, and then connections gets started to the Redis, and there's a spike. And then after a while, they're idle, they fade back down. So this iteratively going up and down, yeah, can be quite. It can block future migrations. Because right now we are all right. But let's say we reach a point whereby we are above 50% at steady state, we can't really do a multi-store based migration because we can't double safely. Yeah, so the approach is to share the connection. So instead of creating another connection to cluster, you reuse the pool. Yeah, so there's MR for that. That one is still sort of work in progress. But yeah, these are two ideas to sort of alleviate this problem so that we have a more scalable way to do migrations and add more Redis instance if need be, which technically we shouldn't if we are using Redis cluster. Well, yeah. So that's that's all for my part on Redis connections.
I think the last merge request for the issue with the multi-store, I've already reviewed that once. I didn't I?
Yeah. I think I've updated. I've added it back, but
Yeah.
right now there's a migration going on, so I'm not sure about merging it while the migration is going on. So yeah, but I've not tagged you back in it, but I've pushed a comment to change it. I'll just put you. I'll assign you the reviewer to you later.
Yeah. These things mostly matter for the Sidekick clients where we run multiple threads. Fuma is only like 2 or 4 threads or something like that, I remember. So
Yeah, I've noticed that Sidekick spikes quite. It can spike quite
yeah,
sharply whenever there's
every
out.
hour we've got
Yeah.
the scheduled pipelines that come in, and that's the hourly cadence you see there.
Yeah. Would it make sense to like sort of smear out that spike so that
Yes,
like a random delay?
Marius and Drew are working on that, like by adding some spreading out like if a scheduled job becomes due, like because of the cron thing, they're now like spreading it over a couple of minutes instead of dropping them all at once. So that's going to spread it out a little bit. And they're also changing the default to not like the default for creating a new pipeline schedule was set to minute 0 of a random hour. So that's now going to become a random minute of a random hour. So new pipelines, new schedules don't go into the 0 to 5 minutes beginning of the hour thing. The work for spreading that out is not done because of Redis, but we're doing that because of the primary database, which suffers more from this, like we're closer to, yeah.
I'm done with my part. If anyone wants to
Cool. It seems like all we have on the agenda. If nothing else, then I think thanks for coming, everyone. Should we end early?
Sam, would you mind showing us what you did for like the runway thing? Because I saw the website, but like you are going through the process of setting up a new service with runway and using the docs as an example. Any thoughts or things that pop up there that we need to?
Sure. I think the onboarding is okay in general. There are a few rough edges and assumptions that we've been able to knock through. One interesting one is in putting together this super simple doc site. So taking our Markdown and throwing that into Astro. If you've not heard of Astro, it is a pretty lean kind of static web framework that can pull in whatever other web frameworks and serves as kind of a multi-page site, not a single page app. It's all kind of rendered HTML. But they have some good templates in terms of docs that we can take existing Markdown files and just push them up into something that is a relatively nice user experience with search just in very kind of simple JavaScript that indexes the site, that might have a slightly better usability than navigating through some of the repos and Markdown files. So I did that using the runway onboarding, and I think it's fairly simple to kind of go through. Where are we? Because right now we have our docs and specifically the onboarding here. So if you're looking to deploy, a small container, you can go to this docs page and follow some of the runway stuff through, because it was fairly simple in a couple of days for me to add an MR to the inventory, check the project, work through some of the rough edges. Like for that service, it's just a little HTTPD service running on a container exposing port 80. Cloud Run by default listens on port or sends requests to port 8080, and port is a reserved word that you can't change yet. So we've learned quite a lot through a few of the services that we've deployed so far. And we're actually looking into, in the new year, multi-region support that you'll have seen, Bob, for AI Gateway, which should be interesting too. So currently, Runway supports just containerized services that are stateless. We can do some workarounds to connect things to database, but those are manually rather than just going through the Runway service at the moment. But I'd encourage you to take a look at this if there's anything that we need to kind of push up quickly, and work with Chance and Sylvester to troubleshoot some stuff. Did you have any other kind of specific questions in mind, Bob? Or
I was recently chatting to some folks in the fulfillment team, and they currently have like their own setup with VMs. And the question came to add some more VMs, and my question was why. And then like started thinking it would be cool if we could deploy that service on Runway, but there's some blockers for that. I think I mentioned you on a few of them. We need multiple containers, so being able to deploy both, in this case, web and Sidekick pods. And we need database. So it's stateful. So yeah.
Yeah, the DB is the blocker there. I think the fun thing about Customers Dart is they already looked to containerize some of the services at one point, and I think they got quite far in that, and some of the services were containerized. it might be worth prodding them and seeing, how close those services need to be, and do they really need to be in the same deployment, especially where they're looking
They
for
don't. They don't. I
scale
know they
out.
don't.
Yeah.
But it does become harder for them to manage because like now they've got a single dashboard, like a single service dashboard for the service we call customers dot, and one of the components there is Sidekick, one of them is web.
Mhm.
So just from a user experience point of view, it would be handy if we could deploy multiple containers inside the same runway thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Actually,
Sidecars are now GA, right? In Runway.
yeah. So, but the problem is also Runway needs to support it because it's one repository. So we need to
Yeah.
be able to get it with a single Runway file there.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I think maybe we.
How do you think we should tackle that? Is that something that we should just do, and as we do it, we will build Runway to support this kind of thing, or?
Specifically because they're working on VMs, I think it's an interesting opportunity to ask for or figure out a compromise. Because the state we're in right now is, look, if we get a usage spike, the VM could crash or throttle. That's not an ideal user experience. So maybe we can break apart some of those services in the short term if it's a short-term fix and we can scale that now. And maybe that's slightly harder to manage in terms of development, but look at all this capability we're giving you that is our bread and butter, but you don't have in your team. So I think we can definitely work on a compromise and don't necessarily need to do a white glove migration.
Yeah, thinking about it, like we could also just start with one thing, like we keep the VMs around and run Sidekick on them while we move web to the pods to Runway. And like, yeah, we've got then two deployments inside a single repository, but they're both set up to deploy their own thing, and that should work, I think.
Yeah, especially because a lot of the complaints of bursty traffic are from services like AI Gateway, right? That are doing token validation on request time or something like that I was reading in the issue. So if we could isolate that bursty request traffic, I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, self-managed. Yeah, that's the token validations for self-managed. Or requesting new tokens for self-managed. I don't remember exactly how that works, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think as much as we can partner with the team and work with them to give them new capability, that will put us in a better place than where we have had this stable counterpart model before, that doesn't scale very well for us. I mean, you can't scale people, unfortunately. Cloning just hasn't got there yet.
Thanks for that. If there's nothing else, I think we can end it. Going once, twice. Nice rest of your day, everyone.
Have a nice day.